Hello, our CastIt. This is your caster for the day, the Danny Soar, bringing you one of my very first casts. I am new to the scene a little bit, but I watch a good amount of StarCraft, and I've done some sports broadcasting in the past, so we're going to give this a shot and see what happens. So starting in the upper right, we have our Protoss player, Mono Dragon, and in the bottom left, we have Bubble DroneOfArc. So a little nameplate up there. Oh yeah, gotta love it. Now this is a game from our CastIt, as you heard in the beginning. I have not watched it yet, so this will just be a straight cold cast. This is a Masters versus a Diamond matchup here. The Protoss starting off pretty basic, just going with a standard Forge Fast Expand, most likely. You see these two jawing back and forth. They are just good friends, just testing out a new ladder map, so they do know each other pretty well, so we'll have to see if they capitalize on knowing each other's strategy here. Nothing too big here at the beginning. Both players doing the normal economy thing, having a little talk about what the other person's going to do. We'll have to see here. I haven't actually seen this map yet. This is going to be new on the ladder, so you're going to see pretty easy, pretty basic, but this is going to be a good choke point for Forge Fast Expand. These rocks here probably not going to come into play. We'll have to see, depending on where the Protoss wants to expand to the second, or to the third, or maybe farther away. Maybe help isolate himself from the Zerg just a bit. Of course, these two just, of course, going back and forth. Good friends here, trying to keep it friendly. It looks like the Protoss will be going Nexus first, saving up for that good amount of minerals, that 400 that he needs, and DroneOfArc will be sending down 2 drones. You see this more commonly. Oh, no, he's not. Thought he was sending down 2. He's going for the fast third. A lot of players will send down a second drone so that this little business down here won't happen. But Dragon's doing a pretty good job. He's going to have to retreat now that he's under 5. Oh, and can the drone quite get him? No. No, he cannot. Oh, he's getting greedy. Oh, but there go the shields, and he's going back. And he has done a great job denying this expansion. Oh, and a pylon block late. Zerg does get the base up over here. The Protoss player will not check that. So the Protoss player right now may assume that this is up and smartly turns around. There he goes to check that out. Meanwhile at home, pylon and Forge. DroneOfArc clearly upset about the pylon block. And he'll actually cancel. Seems that he's done the work that he needs. DroneOfArc does have links coming out in the spawning pool up. Of course, these two are just going to be talking the whole time. Should make for a little bit interesting game, but see the walls going up very nicely here. We'll have to see what Dragon wants to do. Currently in the metagame, a lot of players open up with that Stargate, attempt to basically go into a little bit of Phoenix, do some harassment, clear out overlords, the like. We'll have to see. Personally, I'm a big fan of Blink Stalker All-Ins. I am a Protoss player, so we will have to see what happens here, and looks like DroneOfArc not throwing down the second just yet. Still treating it. Maybe he's going to try to apply some pressure unless he sends it up pretty quickly, but it does not look like it. I assume he's going to try to apply some big-time pressure here. Set's coming down, but at 5 minutes, that is a little bit late. May have just been because of that pylon block, but we will have to see. The cybernetics core is a part of the wall. A little bit interesting. Sometimes you see players build that back in this area and instead just put another gateway up, especially if they scout and they see that, there's not a lot of pressure coming. Now, as far as what Dragon has seen, he doesn't know a whole lot. He doesn't know if there's lings out on the map. He does have a hidden probe. You saw him look at right down here.
Our forces are under attack.
Here we go. Not a whole lot of action there, just some lings and whatnot. Oh, well, I guess he answered that question for us. That third is late just because he messed up a little bit, so that will be a thing. And finally, Dragon getting seen a little bit, but not a whole lot. We'll have to see what kind of tech the Zerg player wants to go in here. A lot of times they'll possibly have a 3-base. You could go for that standard kind of Roach Hydra mix, maybe mix in Mutalisks if you would like, instead of the Hydras. And thus far, still no production buildings for the Protoss, and he will go into a fast third. And he is expanding down and away here, so he's got this wide ramp that he's going to have to defend, and over here as well. Now, the Zerg player can really utilize this, possibly for some harassment. If it's going to be a really big pain to try to defend all these different avenues, even running up this back door and looping around. So we'll have to see. If he gets some speedlings, we'll see what happens there. But this Zealot and Stalker are not going to do a whole lot. Going to grab a couple drones with a little bit more in. DroneOfArc's certainly going to have to respond, as he does not seem to have any Zerglings on the map. He has 2 Lings right now, so this attack is actually going to give him a very nice little lead early on. He target fires those drones down. He can certainly get a little bit more. One's very low there, and he does get it. Maybe take down the Queen. Great time warp there. And this is becoming a big-time problem for DroneOfArc. He is losing a lot to something that did not cost the Protoss player anything, really. These Lings are going to come in. They'll get cleaned up with some decent micro at best. And Dragon's doing a nice job. He's got another 4. He could clean those out. A Queen. And he's going to retreat back, knowing that there's going to be a good amount of Lings on the way. And he did kill a good amount of drones. 11 drones killed. That was a very good amount there. Especially with all it cost him was a Zealot, was all he lost. 2 Stalkers and a Mothership Core. Really did some work. So DroneOfArc really finds himself in a little bit bad place here. He's down actually in drone supply, 41 to 40. Protoss player walling in, going with the double cannon, might be fearing a little bit there. A lot of times in the pro leagues you'll just see 1 cannon walled in very similarly here. He's got a couple of Zerglings coming in of his own, but with these 2 cannons there will be no problem whatsoever. DroneOfArc actually even a little bit late pulling those back. Didn't even have to lose that many. And we do have the Spire coming up, so that is going to be DroneOfArc's tech of choice. And this third base is going to be really exposed. Right back here you can position those mutas, and they can do a lot of work raining down onto these probes. Also loop around the natural and the original main base. But he's making a lot of sentries, so we'll have to see what he wants to do here. Getting that +1 attack. And 22 drones on the way for DroneOfArc. Droning up, we're going to have a huge swell in the income here. Jumps up to 63 harvesters. Want to see that right up a little higher than 70, which I'm sure he will get there. And Blink is on the way for Dragon, going right into that +2. That's going to help him a lot against the Mutalisk. But as of right now, I do not believe that he has any idea that is coming. Whoop, wrong vision there. Yep, he has no idea. No tech whatsoever. And he is getting currently a Warp Prism, and he may come in, maybe try to force field off this ramp, drop right in here. There is actually a little bit of gap. If he comes right up the belly here with a Warp Prism, he can get in, and he can basically force field off that ramp. DroneOfArc throwing out basically a GG, saying I lost. Maybe just trying to mess with his opponent a little bit. Saying this isn't going to work as he's got his mutas on the way. Little does he know, there's not a lot here. The mutas will be in great position back here. They're out of range of the cannons. You know, these Stalkers are going to be kind of a big deal as well. These sentries, that Guardian Shield mitigates so much of the muta damage. That +2's on the way. He's getting +1 for ground, and that Flyer attacks upgrade is going to take a little while. Oh, but it looks like DroneOfArc is pushing out here, and this could be interesting for both players. Those mutas going right around to where I thought that they might, and they're going to do some serious work there. We'll have to see. Does Mono Dragon pull back, or does he attack further? And it looks like he's just going to run back. He's trying to trap these mutas. Oh, and he gets a good one. Oh, he needs DroneOfArc needs to run those back. But the Lynx come in, and they're doing some work. But those mutas are not in a great spot. Mothership Core goes down, which is nice, but that's a lot of Stalkers. He needs to get out of there with those mutas right away. He cannot afford to lose those. They are much more expensive than those other units. And I really would like to see him fly downward, but he's going to go into the main, and there is nothing there. Protoss is streaming up. He's going to try to blink into the main, but by that time, DroneOfArc is going to be over here, already gone. Zoom out just a bit here to show you some of this action. He's walking over, but this just does not seem like it's going to work very well. He's evened up. The workers killed. That's a little rough, and now Dragon's going to have to fix all of his economy, all of his drones going back, make sure he gets the probes back on these gases. He's only got 1 of 3 on each of them. That's really hurting his gas right now, and he has not fixed that. So this was pretty successful by our Zerg player. He's currently just got 8 mutas, but 19 Stalkers, but he's forced the Protoss player to be very defensive. He's gotten this 4th base up, which is great for him. He's really going to have nice economy. He's bouncing back and forth. I really would like to not see him here, and this is going to be bad news. Oh, and loses all those. Oh, but the sentries. If he can kill some more of those sentries, that would be so good for him. Alas, he does not. This is bad news. Our Zerg player throwing away Muta after Muta. That's going to hurt him in the long run. The Protoss player has a much better army. He's sticking with 16 Mutalisks now, but against all of these Stalkers who have +2 and +3 on the way, it's going to be very, very difficult. Our Protoss player cannoning up like crazy. He knows he has a better army composition, throwing up cannons everywhere, and this will allow him to be very offensive. He can simply go in. There's not a lot the Zerg player can do. Getting 48 Zerglings, that will bring him up to a total of right around 50. So the Protoss player, he'll need to warp in some more Zealots to deal with this. But we'll have to see how this works. I'm not quite sure. I fear very much for DroneOfArc Dragon, maxing out a little bit supply capped. We're going to have a couple different things going on here. Is this army moving out? These Mutas are going to come in, do some work, but there are a lot of cannons there. Those cannons doing a pretty good job. Oh, but he only had one pylon powering it. Oh, but we're going to have a little bit of a base trade going on here. I'll do my best to keep up with all of this. Protoss player pushing in, these Lings streaming in. He needs to take out this cannon so that those Lings can get in and do maximum amount of damage. He's got a Chrono Boost out +3 to see if he can get that done. Now, with this Mothership Core, he can recall back. I don't think he's going to. He's simply cannoning up in the main very heavily. He needs to make sure he gets plenty more pylons up. +3, I don't know if it'll finish. It might. He should Chrono Boost that. See if he can pop that out. And there's the recall. He is going to save it. Did a decent amount of damage. I'd like to see him push right back out. And yes, he did Chrono Boost that. These Mutas have done work. Let's look at the damage. He's down in probes, but not by a whole lot. Zerg player does have 4 bases up. That's a little tiresome. These minerals are a little bit low, so he's transferring his probes elsewhere. The income very far in favor of our Zerg player. You can see big time lead. They're similar in the worker count, but he's got this base oversaturated. Nothing going down here. Meanwhile, the Zerg base has a decent spread. Just putting up this base now that was just killed. And our Zerg player is still in a very good spot. He's researching +2/+2 for those Lings. That'll be coming out shortly. Working down those rocks. These Mutas are going to come back in, see what he can get done. We'll see there's not a lot that he can get here, so he should not stay very long. Protoss player is going to be moving out. He just doesn't have a great army composition. Neither one of these players do. No real advanced units. I would love to see Dragon possibly work his way up into, say, a Templar Archives, which he has going down. If he can get some Storm going on, that will mitigate these Mutas. I mean, it'll do serious work on them. And these Zerglings down here will also be very good against them. So we'll see if DroneOfArc is going to go for any sort of tech switch. He is going into Swarm Hosts, getting the upgrade. He has 11 of them out on the map. And we're going to have these Lings trying to push in here, but the Protoss player, the problem here is that he has nowhere to go from here. Yes, he's walled up. He's got this base very oversaturated, just fixed it. But the problem is, where does he go from here? He can attempt to expand over to this base, but it's going to take him a little bit to get that up. Zerg player currently on 5 base, putting up this additional one. With a good warp-in's going to take that down. He'll have to cancel. He should cancel. I don't think he's got the amount of Lings to kill it. And he does cancel just in time, thank goodness. Thought he was for sure going to lose that there for a second. Good job keeping that for as long as possible. This Warp Prism's going to go down if he sees it. There he does. And now these Swarm Hosts. Now, the only problem for our Zerg players is creep spread is pretty terrible. He's donated nothing to creep spread, and creep spread is the key to Locust. It pushed them so much further in. Oh, and those Mutas, he catches a huge chunk of them. He's going to run away. These Templar are in a little bit of trouble. Too many force fields, but a good idea there. He's working over. He knows this base is going to go back up. And what does our Zerg player do from here? You know, the Protoss, he can try to maybe blink in, do some economic damage. And DroneOfArc sending in all of his Lings without any sort of backup. I don't really like that move. He's got all this Locust support behind him, and half of his Lings went up. They're going to try to attack here. With some good warp-ins, he can stop it, which he will. And he's got, how many cannons? Oh, he's got a good amount of cannons here. I'm not quite sure if I like this idea by our Zerg player trying to do that. Meanwhile, our Protoss player's pushing through. All he's got left here is a lot of these Swarm Hosts. There's just not a lot left here for the Zerg player. He has devastated the economy, which is continuing to be a problem. Dragon warping in. I believe he's going to turn those into Archons, potentially. These Lings doing work throughout the base, but Dragon just not taking the opportunity. If he pulls back now, he's got no chance, and that's what he's going to do, but what can he do from here? His economy is just ruined. The Zerg player's economy is booming, absolutely. He needed to push in. He was kind of in an all-in position, but right now, what does he expect to do from here? The Protoss player can't get anywhere. He hasn't even broken down these rocks. It's way too late for him to get another base up. He's got this Warp Prism. I mean, unless DroneOfArc basically throws this game away, it's going to be a big-time problem. I really don't think that there's anything that he can do here to come back. I think this is just a slow, painful death. The main, I'm surprised, isn't mined out yet. He's barely got anything mining here. He's trying to repair his economy, but right now 37 probes is 79 drones. That's just not going to get it done. And with a big time switch into Ultralisks here, and you see the Swarm host here, and he's hiding. Here's the Ultralisk, looking all mean with that custom skin. Here we go. This is the end of our Protoss player, I'm afraid. There is just no way that he can take on this army. All these Ultralisks, and this has got to be GG's very shortly here. I mean, it's going to take a miracle. Now, these Swarm hosts he's leaving behind. Doesn't want to get these Ultralisks in too far by themselves, but as I said, the recurring problem, Protoss has no money and nowhere to go. The Zerg player has a massive bank, 100 supply lead. I mean, the Zerg can probably just sit back. He can expand 3, 4, 5 times if he would like to. There's nothing really going to stop him. Warp Prism going over here, unless that can somehow absolutely devastate all of the economy of the Zerg player, which simply isn't going to happen. I don't like this. You shouldn't go up in there. Just because you have a lead doesn't mean you want to throw this away. I like leading with these locusts. Just keep picking away at this wall. What is he really going to do from here? He's got some Storm, but the Zerg player could throw away his entire army and remax instantly. Got the Corruptors in here to see if he can pick up that Colossus. Now he needs to pull back. There's no support here for him. A little bit overzealous there. I mean, he can afford to be with this supply lead, but these Locusts are just free supply. They can just chip away at everything, and any damage they do is absolutely free. That's going to be the biggest problem for the Zerg, or excuse me, for the Protoss. And now these altars are just going to wreak havoc everywhere else. The Protoss player has a couple Immortals, but what are you going to do? 10 Ultralisks. He has managed to take down a couple Overlords, excuse me. But like I said, there's just not much he's going to do. This base is almost mined out. He's got plenty of other bases. And the run-bys are doing an okay job, but again, the Zerg player's bank is just massive. He's never going to do that. He can trade horridly inefficiently. At this point, he can basically trade 3, 4 to 1 and still come out on top. These Zealots have been annoying, but the real damage, what are they going to do? 59 drones and 52 probes. He's somewhat evened that out. But the bank here, now the Zerg player needs to push out. He needs to park those Locusts right out front here and keep pressure on this base. This is one of his main mining bases left. He's got a lot of tech structures right in front. Cybernetics core, namely. I mean, he's really got to keep pushing. Our Protoss player just simply does not have what he needs. This Warp Prism has been doing plenty. We'll check. I'll see how many units he's killed. 43 and 46 drones. There's been a lot killed, but the Zerg player, honestly, he can throw drones away at this point. He doesn't need them, and he can max out to such a huge amount. You see him, he's got some Overseer Cocoons. He's got Broodlords now. Broodlords and Swarm Hosts. Free unit Palooza. If he just parks them at this front door, what is the Protoss player going to do? He has just run out of options, and again, this is just a slow, painful death. We shall see here. Close down the timer so you can't see how much time's left. Yes, this tiny little army against this massive clump. I don't believe there's going to be a whole lot. Look at the difference in the text of the army. So much more gas, and yes, this is simply the end. These Zerglings run up, pick off units one by one. This is simply just the end of the game, and Dragon GG's out. Now, a big thing was the Protoss player just never got off of 3 base, and that was his biggest problem. He never attempted to expand here. I can't even tell you how long this Zergling has just been sitting at this base waiting for a probe that never came. Zerg player played that very well. You know, he threw away a lot of Mutalisk, which was a little rough. The Protoss player's problem was, I think, recalling back. I think in a base trade scenario, he should have been a little bit more comfortable. Against Mutalisks, they're very mobile, but they can't take an army in a one-on-one fight. So if he really wants to do a base trade, you know, you simply come up here, make sure as little, or if you can avoid all drones escaping, bring your probes with. You know, just kill all the tech structures. That way, all of the production of the Zerg is just gone. And I think that was his opportunity to win, but unfortunately, it recalled back, got chipped away, and that was the end of that. So thank you very much. This is the end of my first cast here. I hope you enjoy it. And this is the Danny Soar, and hopefully you'll see a little bit more of me. Have a good night.